In 1999, a sequel in Heroes of Might and Magic franchise is released. Here the installment reviews favorably, quoting Robert Coffey from Computer Gaming Worlds. The game expands upon the insanely addictive play of the previous edition, retaining the core gameplay while enhancing almost every facet of the game. And it's hard to disagree with him. Everything that worked in the previous edition was kept and upgraded. Everything that didn't click was abandoned. In the modern day you would call it a remake, but back then it was an astonishing evolution of a game. New units with detailed sprites, smoother animations, soundtrack of a paramount quality, powerful editor to fuck around with. This is a game that strategy fans should absolutely be playing. This statement doesn't truly captivate how compelling the game was for everybody. Kindergarten kids would play the game as soon as they returned home. Grandmas would sneak in a match while everybody was sleeping. Couldn't find a man who didn't know about it. Despite the fact that turn-based strategy and tactical game sound smart, this is one of the most accessible one to ever exist. To do everything in Heroes, you only need 2 buttons. Right mouse button to learn about anything you could do, and left mouse button to do it. There are shortcuts, but you don't need them. Every action that requires one has a button that can be pressed with a mouse instead. Everything you can do is displayed on the screen. Just hover your mouse and click. To move, to attack, to cast spells, to gather minerals, to select reward, to buy units, to swap units, to do anything. Just click. With easy controls comes an enormous opportunity. Now that everybody can play the game, everybody can give it a try and learn if they like it or not. Turn-based strategy with tactical combat. Sounds smart. This fact cuts the player base, leaving it with almost everybody? The game sounds like it's for math geeks and professors, but a 2-year-old is capable of playing it. UI perfectly shows the most important parts of the gameplay loop. You have heroes that each day replenish their movement points. Just move them, anywhere really. You have so much movement that you can venture screens away each turn. Unlike in games like Civilization, if you make a small mistake with your movement, it's not a big deal. You can move so much every turn that it's hardly noticed. After finishing moving all heroes, you look to the right of the UI panel and enter your town. There you spend the goodies your heroes acquired. You build structures, recruit new units and heroes. When you're done, you pass the turn. How well did you perform? Well, you moved your heroes, you conquered another mine, and you revealed so much of the map. It feels like you've done everything there was to do. It feels amazing. Those 2 basic actions of moving heroes and constructing towns are so heavily engraved in the basic gameplay that whenever one of them can't be done, it feels wrong, feels bad. There must have been a mistake, there was something wrong in one of the turns taken. How come there's nothing to create in the town? How come there's no minerals to pick up on the map? No fights to take? No spells to cast? Something went wrong somewhere. Maybe a couple of turns ago there was a way to reach more gold and build capital. Maybe that's enough troops to take the mineral mine. Maybe there's a more optimal construction order. Maybe there's a better way to play the game. While the basic gameplay is easy, that is not to say there's nothing to do for a more experienced player. Basics may seem simple, but each feature is full of mechanics to explore. The most fundamental action of moving your heroes is filled with small opportunities for improvement. Diagonal and cross movement costs different amount of points, so it's often better to first line up with minerals you want to gather. When venturing into difficult to move terrain, units of heroes affect whether the penalty is applied or not. Sometimes it's better to leave some troops behind. It's also more optimal to pass the turn with only the fastest units in the army, because the movement points at the start of the turn are affected by the speed of your stacks. Traveling salesman problem, chaining, flying, navigation, there are so many different mechanics you can improve in your movement. And that's just movement. There are still unit compositions, army placement, skills and spells, AI manipulations that look like cheating. It may seem like learning how to operate a plane, but all this depth is still just one click away. Balances. a bit off. Some design decisions are questionable. Randomness can either make or break the game. Balance can be like the fight between Eddie Hall and Nafati brothers. A bit one-sided. There are clear winners and losers in every aspect of the gameplay. Tones that are just built different. Heroes who are a laughing stock. Absolute units. Skills which definitely won't get you the job. And spells she tells you not to worry about. The difference between the best and worst is crushing. Necropolis not only won't lose units during fights, but will also raise dead enemies from their graves. Powerful vampire lords win fights by themselves, posing as a huge threat, but they are not the only problem. An enormous stack of skeletons will carry Necro in the late game, and all of their units buffed by earth magic while alive and resurrected once they fall to the ground. On the other end of the balanced spectrum lies Inferno, a city with two peculiar heroes who cannot even cast their specialty spell on the beginning of the game because they lack maximum mana. Unit composition leaves a lot to be desired. 6 paper-free melee units that fall like newspaper, topped with Magogs, who deal AoE damage that can damage your own. With only melee units to play with Magogs, once the combat starts for good, Magogs are either useless or will cause a lot of damage to your army. A town that burns itself alive, contrasted with a town that increases its ranks as it racks up victories. There are clear winners and losers. There are also trolls. Vokial starts with basic artillery, however he doesn't start with ballista. He also cannot buy one in starting town, because their blacksmith sells first aid tents, but Necropolis heroes have 0% chance of learning first aid. They do however have the highest chance of learning navigation, which is available even on maps that have no water. Servers until Shadow of Death expansion were losing damage upon being upgraded. Champions can be upgraded for free in the stables. Crystal Dragons give 3 crystals each day. But don't ask me where they are taking those from. With balance as it is, and special interactions giving an edge, it seems like the meta should be stale and favor only one type of gameplay. And it is, but it never truly remains stale and one-sided. All thanks to the RNG. Even the most thorough plan crumbles in front of Verdyh morale. Tactics that always work still have this small percentage of chance of losing to a lottery.
Ora Kurwa! No dlaczego no?
That's how this game creates emotions.
Dude, stop it!
That's how this game creates memories. I will always remember this game. I will always see this game whenever I hear those sounds. Each one of them. So unique. So distinct, and not just sounds. Music is just as good. There's even a heroes dedicated orchestra honoring those tracks and their greatness. Try all you might. The graphics aged. It's not the most atrocious looking game, but it's also not something we're gonna put on a mousepad. Okay. It's not a beauty that grasps and holds you hostage. It doesn't make you stop to just observe. If you could, you would skip those animations altogether. It's unique enough to be distinguishable from other similar games like Disciples. It does its job of creating unique looking heroes, units, spells and towns. None of them truly spectacular, just good enough. Heroes weren't really meant to be looked at, they were meant to be played. Forever and ever. Aside from pre-made campaigns, scenarios and additional mission packs in which we explore Tarnum's happy accidents, there's also a powerful editor which allows the player to create his own maps. While the map editor is a very powerful tool, it was never meant to create gorgeous looking scenarios. It was meant to create interesting ones. And oh boy, did the developers succeed in creating those. From long underground tunnels where movement speed is the king, to a gigantic swamp where the enemy teleports behind your lines and strikes whenever you try to be more aggressive. A titanic mountain you ascend as a mage while having no access to mana regen, down to a peculiar archipelago on which you can drink a New World light lager.
Damn.
While some levels are similar, some try to break the basic formula of free-for-all and create scenarios where just heading strong into the enemy doesn't work anymore. Levels frequently challenge you on your understanding of the gameplay mechanics and your ability to manage multiple fronts. There are also some peculiar single scenarios like Imp City, where you can build nothing but imps, fight with nothing but imps, and win with nothing but imps. Only imps. Just imps. Just imps. In my personal experience, the only thing that those maps never truly explore are win conditions. Game frequently challenges the player on his free-for-all abilities, but does that even on levels on which smashing your opponent is not the win condition. Instead of exploring different ways of managing your way around the map to flag all monster generators, you just conquer your opponent and then flag them in peace. On maps where you have to reach a specific amount of resources, you just do it. You don't need to calculate which fights to take and which resources to trade. You don't have to sell units or valuable items to get to the goal. At the end of the day, they all play the same. After 25 years, the game is still alive to this day, thanks to the replayability the map generator provides. It won't create a brand new experience like a handcrafted one would, but it's good enough to make each match unique. It works together with the general RNG to spice up even the most boring level layouts. Each game truly feels different from others. It is however important to note that the game we play today is not the same as it was 25 years ago. New World Computing has been shut down together with its parent company Verdyh, just 2 years after the release of Shadow of Death expansion. Might and Magic has been sold to Ubisoft, and generally Home Free has been forgotten. But the community kept the game very much alive. The various expansions were made, mechanics were tweaked and balanced to be more competition friendly. The PvP scene is still active, though the entry level is quite high. You really need to know a lot to begin playing on that level, but it might be extra worth it to start learning right now. A couple of months ago, Ubisoft released a teaser, a new home game, and unlike the last releases, this one promises to go back to the roots of the series. Developers are reportedly working with streamers and active players to bring the best out of the game and make it much more broadly alive once more. With official servers to play on, you might want to start training your movement chains right now. But there's also another project slowly cooking, Fun Stratix, from the original creator of Home Free. It is in very early stages of development, but it already looks very promising. You can read a bit more on their website. And that's where we are right now, 25 years later. The game is just as good as it was all those years ago, and might even come back in the near future in a new dress. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, press those likes and subscribe buttons. Fight me in the comments below. Good luck and have fun.